Thank you, Heba. Kuwait's historical sites reflected a glimpse of ancient human history, which could provide answers for the events that took place and may have had an impact on the course of human history. Secretary General for Antiquities and Museum Affairs at the National Council for Culture, Arts and Letters, Shehab Al-Shehab, who specializes in heritage and culture, had a dream to create a sort of research center for the Gulf Basin archaeology in Kuwait. Sarah Glubb has this report from Kuwait.
In recent years, archaeological research has discovered evidence of seafaring in Kuwait some 7,000 years ago. It is believed that sophisticated boats traveled between the Arabian Peninsula and southern Mesopotamia, or modern-day Iraq, trading in exotic stone and painted ceramics.
Before we talk about archaeology and about the first trace of a human, we should think about the environment. We should go back in our imagination to that period, the environment in that time, how it was look like. For example, the Gulf until 15,000 BC, it was empty. There was no water in the Gulf, and the human was living inside the basin of the Gulf. Then later, after 15,000 BC, Hormuz broken and the water start to enter the Gulf from that time until the 4,000 BC. So the human, they start to move to the higher point.
A stretch of the coastline supported a cosmopolitan and industrious community at the time, and since 1998, some of the remains left by these ancient inhabitants were being investigated by Danish, Polish, Italian, French and British excavators.
The first settlement found in Kuwait for a human settlement, it was in the end of 6th millennium BC, beginning of 5th millennium BC. We found it in the north part of Kuwait, in the north shoreline of Kuwait Bay. And that settlement is very important. It was like the focal point for two cultures in that time, from Mesopotamia and from Arabic Peninsula. And it was like a border between these two civilizations. And the work, the field work is still continuous, and we will have a mission maybe after 1 month to continue this research in north part of Kuwait. Then in the 3rd millennium or end of the 3rd millennium BC, there is another civilization starting Kuwait Bay, in Munamel Island and Akkaz or Shuwaikh Island and in Faylaka Island. And it was a kind of federation with Dilmun civilization, and they continued until the Hellenistic period. Faylaka, it was the south border for Seleucus Empire, which was Antiquities, it was the capital in Mesopotamia. Then after the Hellenistic period, then Parthian they start, but Parthian they moved to Akkaz Island. Then after Parthian, Sasanian, and during Sasanian period, there was the biggest Christian community settled in Faylaka, and we found 2 churches there and the cross. And the village, it was around 2 kilometers by 2 kilometers in the middle of the island. So this is one of the questions now. And according to the history resource, that Christianity start in the Gulf from the 2nd century AD. And the written source mentions several locations in the Gulf. In the 8th, 9th century AD, these people, they disappear. And this is one of the questions. They became Muslim, or they live the region. We don't know, so we are working.
Although people were settled in villages along the great rivers of Mesopotamia's the Tigris and Euphrates, members of these communities traveled far in search of new lands and natural resources. Some went north, ultimately following the river systems into modern Syria. Others went downstream, towards the south, where they encountered the Neolithic herders of the Arabian Peninsula. Along the shores of the Arabian Gulf, the two societies met, each having very different lifestyles, economies, and material cultures. For centuries, civilizations have come and gone through these desert lands, leaving remnants of their existence scattered throughout the country. Yet today we don't really think about what may have happened 7,000 years ago. From the National Library, this is Sarah Glubb reporting for English News.